Good morning, what's shaking, what's happening? Welcome back to Tasty Bites Timeless Travels. Today is day 91 of our Holland America cruise around the world. Today's a really rocky sea day with not a whole lot on the schedule that I want to do. So let's have a conversation about something that's probably been on your minds. Is this too long to be on a cruise ship? Here are thoughts, or my thoughts. Come join us. So first, let's talk about some positive things about being on a cruise ship this long. You're going to have things like, some obvious things, like you're not doing any housework. No changing of the bed linens, no washing the towels, no doing the laundry, no doing the dishes. There's even no, hey, what do you want for dinner? It's all decided for you. Your entire day is decided. Like you get options, like we get the daily, and it has options of things to do, so it's up to me to figure out which option I want. So, it's all right there. It's all kind of structured. Also, another fun thing about this, I'm going to places in the world I never thought I would go. I have things written down, by the way. I'm going to places in the world I never thought I would go, like Ecuador. Like, when I sat down and envisioned, do we want to fly around the world or cruise around the world, I had nothing for the continent of Africa. Nothing did not interest me whatsoever. But then we went to Africa, and I said, man, this was actually really nice. I wish we would have done more in Africa. I didn't think we were going to like it that much, but we did. So, new places. And then things like going to the Great Barrier Reef. Like, I never thought I'd make it to the Great Barrier Reef. Even though it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, it was still amazing. Or Easter Island. Like, I set foot on Easter Island 2 days. Amazing. We've also made some new friends. We've met people from all over. We've met people from all over the world, to be honest with you. So, including the crew. They've become like family. So, I would never have met these people. These people have come into my life for, like the lecturer said, seasons or reasons. At least for this season. And they've been a joy to talk to. They've been fun to talk to. And getting to know everyone. It's like at some point, you feel like you're traveling the world with a new family. With like your cruise family. And there's nothing wrong with that. But then that brings me to things that you miss. I miss my family, like I miss my sister and my niece and my nephew and my great nieces and nephew, and the amount of times we've been somewhere and I've thought, oh, one of the kids would like that, or, oh, I can't wait to tell this kid that story, and then realize I'm 8 hours ahead of them. I'm never going to tell them that story, because by the time I get in a time zone where I can talk to them, I will have forgotten. I'm just going to be honest with you. I will forget. So you miss your family. You miss, my family also had some medical drama a little bit while we were out, and there was nothing I could do. Another cruise passenger lost a family member. They unexpectedly passed, and there was nothing they could do. They couldn't even get home to say goodbye and go to the funeral. These are choices you make when you take a cruise like this, but life still goes on back home, and you're not a part of that anymore. So you have to understand that, and you have to be okay with that. And some days it's just like, man, I wish I was there. Another thing, sports. You lose ESPN somewhere in the Pacific and you don't get it back. And I don't know when we're going to get it back. But, we're thankful that we were able to get the Super Bowl, but we didn't get a lot of news coverage leading up to it. But beyond that, March Madness happened. We did not get the first March Madness basketball game. On Koningsdam last year, they did beam in parts of the tournament. This year, they didn't. I think it has a lot to do with the time difference because they're all happening at like 11, 12 o'clock at night. It does cost Holland money to bring those games in, to get the rights or whatever. I don't know how that works, but it does cost them money. So part of me understands why they didn't, but part of me is like, man, this is like what's happening, and like there was a lot of upsets in March Madness apparently, and we didn't get to see any of them. And I'm not even a huge college basketball fan, but I am like everyone else. I like March Madness to fill out the bracket to see if anybody gets a perfect bracket. I have no idea. We're completely away from that. We're also completely away from world news. It's April 5th. A lot's happened in the world this week. A lot of passengers didn't realize what all happened in the world until they went to exchange their dollars for euros, because they're about to hit a big euro section, and realized that the dollars lost value. And that's when they had to start reading the news or watching the news channel or trying to find one of the newspapers, because the ship's only half full, there's not as many to find out about the tariff situation and the stock market crashing. And hopefully by this time this video posts, everything's better in the world economy, because you don't know how grim it is, because we're over here kind of in this fantasy world, and what's life back home doing? You know, like, how bad is it? You know, sort of deal. So, you know, and I'm from Orlando. Orlando's gearing up for a brand new theme park opening, and all I can see is the rumors, and is it going to open on time, and is everything going to be okay, and what's the traffic going to be like? Because when we left, they had shut down an entire road and we didn't even know it. So they're rerouting some of the traffic. So I don't even know if I'm going to be able to drive in the Orlando area very well, because I don't know how much of the roads changed, because I'm not here for it. You know, I'm not there for it. I don't see it happening, and there's only so much of the news I can keep up with. Some people didn't get the internet package, so they really have no idea what's going on. Some people, like C, just have the basic internet package. It doesn't work very well every corner of the world. I have an upgraded internet package. Sometimes it doesn't even work for me. So those are some things we really miss. That, and deciding what we want for dinner. You know, like, sometimes you have that craving, you know, like chicken wings or takeout Chinese or takeout pizza. It's not going to get satisfied on a Holland cruise. They just don't have anything like that. You know, you have the 30 menus or whatever, which the World Cruise does have a little bit of freedom with their menus, but they're very, you know, like I said, last night we had a menu that just wasn't a good menu for us. We don't like anything on it, so we ended up at the buffet eating at the other buffet stations, the stir fry and the pasta station, because nothing on the main menu tickled our fancy, per se. So, you know, but I can't just go get a Snickers bar. I can't just go get a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. You know, C can't have dairy, so she is at a lack of sweets, because they put out one vegan dessert a day and one sorbet flavor a day, and that's it. That's all she gets. You know, if she's got a sweet tooth, which thankfully she doesn't have a big sweet tooth, but some days, you know, you just want something sweet, and she can't always find something. So those are things that can get kind of tough on you, especially after 90 days. So, what are things that we've really had to change in our life to be on a cruise this long? First off, structure. We were told before we left, we were given this advice of, you need to find structure in your day, and especially in your sea days, so that you're just not walking into every day without a plan, because that's when idle things, you know, my mother always said idle hands are the devil's work, and I can believe it, especially on a cruise, because there's temptation all around. You know, the casino's open on sea days, the bars are all open on sea days, the shops are open on sea days, so there's plenty of time to do things that'll get you in trouble because you're just bored. So finding structure. For me, it was doing the YouTube channel. This has provided some structure in my day, because I need to edit videos, post videos, come up with ideas. So it's kept me in a mindset, because I need to return to work when I get back to Orlando. I'm not of retirement age. I have to find a job when I get back and go back to work. So I didn't want to lose my structure and like creativeness and drive, so that I would be able to go back into a workplace, you know, pretty sharp still. For C, she's retired, but she still had structure in her days when we were at home. You know, she did her daily chores. She did all the shopping for us. She looked at the sales. Like, she had her things that kept her day busy. So she had to find things to keep her day busy here too. One of them being church. You know, she's gone to church every day that it's been available, which is all the sea days. So props to her. That's where she found some structure for her days on top of other things. We have friends that it's the pool. You know, they go to the pool any opportunity they get, because that's what they like to do, and that provides them structure. Just because there's a ton of activities on the schedule doesn't mean anything's gonna tickle your fancy, and we've had some days like that. So structure's been a big one, because I have something else to fill my time. I don't have to worry about a day of non-activities, because I'm gonna have something there. But structure. Other things that are different is, you know, you're just in these small spaces. You don't have a lot of personal space. You don't have a lot of personal time. So trying to cope with that can get kind of tedious on you also. And you just deal with it as best you can. You know, sometimes C will just leave for like an hour, or I'll just leave for like an hour, so that there can be some like quiet time to take a nap. But I tell you, it's difficult to take a nap in this room. The balcony is horrendously loud. the people next door, when they clean their room, they're horrendously loud. We're near a crew doorway because some crew live on this hall. They're in and out at weird times of the day. So you're not always going to get that quiet. But depending on where you're from, it might just be like where you're from. For us, it's not like where we were from. We lived in a cul-de-sac, neighborhood. So with either retirees or very structured work people. But, those are things that can be hard and that you really need to cope with when you're on a cruise this long. Something else, and this speaks to this segments versus world cruiser, which Royal did have some problems with this on their ultimate world cruise, and it's starting to creep up on this world cruise because this is the first year that Holland has really concentrated on segment cruisers. Segment cruisers, they need them for their business. I'm not knocking Holland for that. They're a business. They need to stay in business. They need to make money. That was a big swell, by the way. Good Lord. It's a rocky day at sea. But I'm not knocking Holland for focusing on what is making them money, because let's face it, there's not a lot of people that have this much time and this much money to take a world cruise. We were blessed to do it because we downsized our home. I don't think we would have done it any other way. But there's people that do it every year, which I find mind-boggling, but hey, that's what they do. But the majority of people on this cruise have been segment cruisers. They've outnumbered the world cruisers. So Holland has tried to give them the full cruise experience for their segment. What it's done is it's created some repetitiveness for the world cruisers. It's how many orange parties can you have? How many gala nights can you have? How many of this can you have? It's tough. There's not an influx. There's not enough influx of new activities. It's the same activity, maybe with a different window dressing sort of deal. Now the story time thing, that was different. That's the only time they did it, but we've had, disco night, but then Rolling Stone has a disco set that they'll do also in their regular rotation. We had a night of music, but they're going to do it again, so this non-influx of new activities, it makes everything repetitive. And then you have to think Holland's activities are not like another cruise line. So like, we've been on Royal quite a bit. We have status with Royal. We miss karaoke. We miss pool games. We miss being able to sit at the pool and look at the screen and see like the Red Bull channel and being entertained at the pool. We haven't been at the pool that much on Holland, not because we don't like the pool, not because the weather's been bad. It's just boring. It's just, there's nothing to do. There's not even music at the pool. So, it can be boring. It can be taxing. And then when you have nothing new activity to look forward to other than the ports, it makes things like this stretch of 6 sea days, it can make them feel long and drawn out. And, oh my God, when is this going to end? And then at some point, a lot of the ports start to look alike, which was not something I ever expected either. I thought, oh, there's no way that all these ports are going to look the same. They're all going to look different. No, when we were in Mauritius, you would have thought we were back in French Polynesia, which would have which looked like the Caribbean. They just all start to mesh together in their aesthetics. So it's very strange. So yeah, but segment versus world cruise. I don't know if I would just do a segment because we like starting and stopping in the same spot. But if that's where they're going to emphasize the full crew experience as opposed to giving the world cruise a full overall experience, I think it is something that you need to take into account because, like I said, I didn't struggle to find anything to do at the beginning of the cruise. Everything was new and exciting and fun. On day 91, I'm sitting here making different kinds of videos because there's nothing that interests me. So, something to take into account. So, final point on this topic. Is this cruise too long? Would I ever do another long cruise? To be honest with you, I don't know. We're not done yet with this cruise. And I know I just said all the ports start to look the same, but we've got some pretty major points coming up. We've got Europe, and we've also got Cairo to go see the pyramids. We've got Rome, Naples, Greece, Barcelona, Portugal. So there's a lot of places to look forward to. So I don't know. Now, when you look at their other grand this year, it's actually longer than the world cruise. It's the pole to pole, where they went from Fort Lauderdale down to Antarctica. They're going to meet us in Barcelona, and then they're going to go up to the Arctic Circle and then make their way back down to Fort Lauderdale. That's 133 days. That itinerary didn't necessarily pique our interest because it's a lot of South America coast, which I don't know. Maybe we would like it, because the one thing that we've learned in this cruise is that don't be so close-minded, because we didn't know we were going to like Africa that much. But I don't know. It was also very expensive because of Antarctica. Next year's world cruise is 135 days, but it doesn't actually go around the world due to they had to go around Africa for quite a few years on top of having a Grand Africa, because the Suez Canal is still not safe for passenger travel. So they're just going from Fort Lauderdale down South America, down to Antarctica, which is still my bucket list, and then up through French Polynesia and Australia, New Zealand. It'll basically go the same route up to Singapore, and then it'll end up going to Vietnam, Tokyo, Hong Kong. It even goes to Alaska. To me, it's a very exciting itinerary because it does another big chunk of bucket list places such as Antarctica, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Vietnam. It's an overnight in Singapore. It's an overnight in Bali. So I think the itinerary is really amazing. I think to do a cruise this long, you need to be excited about maybe 80% of the itinerary, because otherwise I don't think you're going to be excited. Now, their other grand next year is Grand Australia, New Zealand, which also includes Fiji, the French Polynesian Islands, and Hawaii. I would do it any day of the week. I would be there. But they're also very expensive. But their Grand Australia, New Zealand is only 94 days. So it's about the time we are right now, just a few more days. Since I just started getting bored on this cruise, I feel like I would be okay on that cruise. So I think it's individual to every person. Like I said, there's people that take this cruise every year. There's people that live on cruise ships because it is a much easier life. Like I said, no dishes, no linen. There is medical, like you just go downstairs and see a doctor. It's not like you have to wait 2 weeks for an appointment or anything like that. But if you have something majorly wrong, they're going to put you out on the next port to be checked, and you may or may not get back on. You might have to meet the ship somewhere else, or you might just not get back on at all. You know, a lot of things are taken care of. It's cheaper than retirement homes, to be honest with you, and it's a lot more fun, I'm assuming, than the majority of retirement homes, depending on the level of medical care that you need. I've enjoyed it, but like I said, I've had days where I just sit here and I'm like, oh, I wish I was home. I wish I could watch this. I wish I could eat that. So it's an individual choice, but like I said, my biggest advice is if you're looking at taking a cruise this long or trying to do a year on a cruise ship, look at the itinerary and think to yourself, how many days can I sit at the pool? How many times do I really want to go to the beach? How well do I like this rotation of menus? Because there's not going to be a lot of variety. Or are these stops going to provide enough like difference in a menu that I can go off and have a nice meal somewhere? Which, like we were able to do in South Africa. We ate at almost every port stop, except for Walvis Bay because we weren't there that long. But we were able to get something different. Like we were able to get chicken wings in Richards Bay. And that was something that's difficult to get on Holland, is chicken wings. So, you know, do you have enough variety? Like, man, I tell you, I miss takeout Chinese, and I miss real Texas-style barbecue. They just can't do it here. It's just not a thing. But those are things I think I look at, you know, and the activities. Like, could I do this cruise if it was Royal, where there was karaoke and poolside entertainment, but their food's not as diverse, you know, sort of thing. So you have to take a lot of things into account. For me, I don't know. 124 with the best yet to come? Possibly. 135 with a bunch of bucket lists? Maybe. 94 going French Poly, Fiji, New Zealand, Australia, and Hawaii? Totally. So it's up to the individual, but I tell you, the itinerary is really going to dictate it. The itinerary and the cruise line and how much you enjoy the everyday activities of that cruise line, because they're not going to be that different. They're not. Holland, we sell Holland for destinations, and we like the lectures and we like the port talks and stuff like that, but after a while, how many lectures can you attend? You're not in college anymore. You know, all the topics are not interesting. Not all the lectures are interesting either. Some of them are very boring, but some of them are really great. You know, Merge was amazing. This Dean Allen guy, he's great. He's interesting, but No, the guy that was talking about pirates the other day that I was so excited to go see put me to sleep in 10 minutes. I had to leave. So, just, it's an individual choice, but those are the things I would look at. Do you like the itinerary? And how satisfied are you by the cruise line's regular menus and regular activities? Because it's not going to change that much for a long cruise. But those are my thoughts on cruise fatigue. If you're new here and you watch this for this part, this is not how I normally do the videos, but it's how I did it today because, like I said, on this entire list of activities, nothing was tickling the fancy until tonight. It's the singer from the Rolling Stone Lounge Band. He's taking over the world stage. So if you are normally here, we're going to head up to the rest of the day's activities, which is probably going to be dinner and the nighttime show. But if you're new here and you want to stick around, let's see what's for dinner and hit the nighttime show. But make sure you hit the notification button. If you like the video, hit the notification button, subscribe, and all that fun social stuff. Otherwise, we'll see you at dinner. Alright, appetizers have arrived, and C got the shrimp with tangerine, and it also came with a butternut puree, technically, but yeah, I see it. Shrimp and tangerine. Hers is modified for dairy, and I got the shrimp and tangerine. Very funny, but it's a really good appetizer. That's why we both got it. But I think mine's prettier, just because. C got a double app night tonight. She went for the hummus. Now, it's funny. Sometimes she gets the bread, sometimes she doesn't. Today is a no bread day for her, so she'll have some table bread, I guess. All right, entrees have arrived. C went for the Salisbury steak this evening. Now, she can't have dairy, so she got subbed to baked potatoes instead of mashed potatoes, but look at how cute it looks. Does it not give you vibes of Stouffer's, like a fancy Stouffer's, because she's got a baked potato? Now, for me, I went for the chicken parmesan. This has always been delicious in Lido, so cannot wait to have it here. It's a good-looking plate. All right, doing a little something different tonight. Tonight, we're going to do the cocktail chat. It's just like coffee chat, but in the evening. Tends to be with the entertainers, but this time it's actually with the pastor from the church service. They had asked him to do a coffee chat, but coffee chat is the same time as the service, and he said, no, I don't want to skip a day of service to do something like that. I apologize. So they offered him this instead, so should be interesting. Now, cocktails are never as popular as coffee chats, trust me, but we'll see how popular this one is. Holland is religion is a hot topic on Holland right now, and having the pastors and the priests and the rabbis. So, I don't know. It should be interesting what the questions are going to be. That we are gonna call it a night here. So yeah, is this cruise too long? Is this 90 days, 124 days, 133, 135? It's all up to you. But as far as the rest of the video in the evening, dinner was good. It was definitely home style comfort with the Salisbury steak and the chicken parmesan. That tangerine shrimp is one of my favorite appetizers. It sounds like that stuff shouldn't work, but it does. We did skip dessert because of the cocktails with Kimberly. That was really interesting. First off, he packed them in. Cocktails is not normally that popular because we've been to it with a few other performers, but he managed to pack it in with some people were part of his church community, and some people were there for cocktails with Kimberly, and I think some people were just curious. So great crowd. It was also his wife's birthday, so everybody sang her happy birthday, and they had written a song for her, and they got to sing it. So that was really, really nice. He was interesting in that his method, not his method, but his journey to become a pastor is very different. You know, for that, it's something obviously that you're called to, but his journey to get there was very interesting to hear, and his feelings about having ministry on a cruise ship was also very interesting, and he gave, thanks to Holland for recognizing that people need clergy, and they want the spiritual side, and having someone to talk to, and when things go wrong, having someone there. He said, Holland understands the importance of that, and so he was very appreciative that, Holland does that. So, very interesting cocktails. we did skip the headline show tonight. It is one of the singers from the Rolling Stone Lounge Band. Apparently, there's been some big shakeups with the entertainers. Things have changed. And so they're not scrambling for headline show entertainment, but they're definitely getting a little creative with some headline entertainment. So they are taking some of the group performers and giving them their own shows. You know, Abby from Fantasy was on there. One of the Billboard guys has had a show. Tempest B, who is the band leader of Rolling Stone Lounge Band, has headline shows coming up. But this was the other, main singer from Rolling Stone. We ended up missing it because Cocktails with Kimberly went that long. He is a bit long-winded as a preacher, and Kimberly can be a bit long-winded too, and then some of the questions were a bit long-winded, so it just happened. So we opted not to go to it. He's got another show, though, believe it or not, so we might go see when he has a second show. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for indulging me as we talked about cruise fatigue, and I hope you enjoyed also the video of dinner and stuff. So just make sure you hit that notification button, like, subscribe, all that fun social stuff to keep following us along as we continue our adventures. Oh, and we have time change tonight. I forgot all about that. I'm staring at this card. We move forward again. I don't know if these fours are worse than the backs. I honestly don't know, but we do lose another hour again, but this time we're in the time zone of where we're going. And I think we go another 2 hours before we start going backwards again, but who knows. But anyway, yeah, follow the socials, all that fun stuff, as we continue along our journeys of the 2025 Holland America Grand Voyage around the world on the Zuiderdam. Have a great night. Bye!